I can give you a bandage. Which arm? The left or right? So it's this one. When Bobby hurt himself, I wanted to help him because he's my best friend.
It's fascinating to see.
It doesn't hurt.
We're going to the heart of what really matters to make us human, to give us our human qualities. Can we care about other people? Can they feel pain? Can we protect people?
Do you need an injection? That might help. Oh, thank you, Arthur.
Sure. Hi, my name's Dr. Sam Watson. I'm a child psychologist.
Sam, I have to start by saying Happy World Kindness Day.
Oh, thank you very much, Christy. What a very kind way to start the conversation.
Well, it feels important. And I tell you what, this year in particular seems more important than ever to celebrate a day like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the really interesting things. So it's been a tough year for us as adults, but one of the things that's really, really important is to think about how it's been, in a lot of ways, an even tougher year for children too. We understand a lot of what's been happening. We've been following it in the news. When something like the lockdowns come, it hasn't come completely as a surprise. But children, they really don't understand what's been happening. They don't understand why there have been these big changes that have been happening in their life. And nobody likes this lack of control, particularly when it's because of things that they don't understand. But for children, it's even harder because many of them are experiencing it for the first time. It's the first time that something really big and important for them has just been made and they've had no control over it whatsoever. So really, really tough year for children.
Yeah, and I think that the thing as well, isn't it, for kids is there's obviously immediately the stuff that's around them. And I have to say, we are extremely fortunate here on the Isle of Man because we've been able to be out of lockdown for several months now, which is fantastic. But still, there was that disruption, and still the kids over here, they're still subjected to it, even with sort of the news and listening to and seeing what's going on around the world. So should we be sort of protecting them from that, or what is the best way to deal with this?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So one of the things we're trying to raise awareness of with this campaign with Pony Life is about friendship, so about peer-and-peer interaction. This is the thing that kind of is super, super important, this idea that, when I'm going through changes that are different, that are different things to what I'm used to, it's children can support each other through that really, really well, in a lot of ways better than how an adult can support a child. So, it's just a question of just raising awareness of that and making that available to children whenever we can.
And this research, I have to say, this really made me smile reading this research, because I sometimes think that we grown-ups, when we start doing the adulting thing, we sometimes forget about what the most important things are, don't we? And we could probably learn a lot from kids, like I'm sure you have been doing with your research and also with the programme and everything as well. We sometimes need to look at kids, don't we, and learn how to be decent people again. And some of the things that have come out in this research really reaffirm that, don't they?
Yeah, that's a really nice way to say it. So we were asking children what attributes they value most in their friends. One of the most popular things was kindness. 71% said kindness, which is why we chose to launch this campaign today on World Kindness Day. Slightly more popular than that was humour, 74%. And really, really interestingly, 7 in 10, 69% said that they thought it's important to have friends from different backgrounds to them. Which was really nice. And again, that's definitely something that a lot of us as adults, we're not very good at keeping track of. A lot of us tend to end up with friendship groups who are from very similar backgrounds to us. So, really, really nice to see children, valuing these characteristics, particularly kindness and support. You're absolutely right. You read about it in the news that, you don't hear a lot about politicians being very kind to one another. You hear lots more about people being nasty things to one another. But one of the interesting things, having watched a lot of young children interacting with one another, is a lot of the time, very young children that, you'll see something like one child bursting into tears, and if there's a 4-year-old children playing and one of them bursts into tears, very often you'll see the other 4-year-old just turn and walk away. And it can be quite odd to watch. A lot of time when you talk to that child, it's not because they didn't care, and it's not because they didn't understand what their friend was going through, because, every 4-year-old child's burst into tears a lot themselves. It's because they didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that's really, really important, and, through this campaign with Pony Life, we're trying to, raise awareness of, is this idea that children aren't born knowing what kindness is. They work out for themselves that it's important, but how to actually be kind and how to hold and how to establish a friendship and how to maintain it is really, really important. And, it definitely is something we have to learn.
And it's okay then. So as parents then, how on earth do you actually teach that?
Yeah, so that's a really tricky question. So I think there's a couple of things. So one, particularly at a time when children, as you say, it's been better for you on the Isle of Man, but if it ever happens again, presumably you're still getting kind of shutdowns where, schools are shut down when there are cases or something like that. If you're shut off, then there is evidence that watching, other people show these attributes, so Pony Life, that is a show kind of, and they're really the superheroes of kindness. So, the whole show is focused on this theme of love and support, and there is research that children learn about these abstract qualities like strength and kindness through, first of all, watching people that are infinitely powerful and infinitely friendly and infinitely loving. And they find it easier to learn about these kind of, very black and white, someone's infinitely strong. And then once they've learned that, they can learn that in the real world, everybody is quite strong, but not completely strong. And everybody is quite kind, but not completely kind. So you learn through a simple black and white, and then you appreciate, then over time, you learn to appreciate that the world's in fact shades of grey. So there is evidence that, watching, things like this on TV is a way that you can learn about these attributes that they transfer to the real life. So that's one way that we can think about it. Because the other way as well is about how we interact with our children. One of the things that is you definitely notice in a lot of adult-child interaction is the child doesn't spend that much time thinking about what the parent's thinking or feeling necessarily. There's always this asymmetry that is more focused on the child saying what they need and the parents supplying the needs of the child. And one of the big things that you see them learn when they're in the playground, when they're doing a peer-on-peer interaction, is that asymmetry's disappeared. Yeah, it's the first among equals. So, and to survive in that type of setting, they need to learn to think what the other person is thinking. And they just simply have no choice. They have to learn this in order to, get what they want out of the interaction. So, if you're stuck at home a lot with your child, then the more you can be encouraging your child just to be aware that you have thoughts and feelings too. It can be in just simply acquiring knowledge. When you said that made me feel like that. And, when it's done carefully and with consideration, it can be a really important part of children's learning.
I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Because at a time like this, we grown-ups as well have no sort of idea in some respects about how to deal with something like this, because it's a completely alien and unusual time for us. So then to know how to broach that with our kids is very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and people react to it in different ways. And when we're anxious, we tend to be more focused on how we're feeling. So we find it harder to see how someone else is feeling. And a lot of adults anyway, in my experience, find it very, very hard to imagine how things feel so differently from a child's point of view. The simple fact that, they're not reading the news. So when something happens, we see it coming and they don't. And it's a much, much different thing to react to when you just haven't seen it coming. So, really, really important to think what things feel like from a child's point of view as well.
Definitely. And one last super quick question. How are you going to be celebrating World Kindness Day? Or how do you think we should be celebrating World Kindness Day?
I sat with, actually, as it happens, I sat with my son this morning and we watched My Little Pony, Pony Life, a nice little show about friendship. So they went on a cookery show and they thought that their friends were very worried that they thought they were no good at cooking, and they kept on trying to make lots of changes to their friend. And then, in fact, their friend went and did what she wanted, and she was absolutely fine. And the friends learned that, in fact, I should not try and improve my friend, just love them for what they are.
Oh, that is absolutely gorgeous. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Sam. We will point everyone in the direction of that show. It sounds like it's a wonderful thing. And again, have a lovely World Kindness Day.
Lovely. Pleasure talking to you, Christy. You too. Have a lovely day.
Take care. Bye.